Hey there, I wanted to do this video to talk about a couple things. First of all, I want to talk about what you see up here. If you've been following me on Instagram, you've probably already seen this because I finished this a few days ago. I'm making a video of it, but I just recorded the last part of it this morning, so I'll be editing it tomorrow, which is Thursday, and I'll have that up on my main site or my main channel on Sunday, I do believe. Sunday or maybe even Saturday, depends. It's probably not going to be a video that's going to get a lot of views because, yeah, it's just another, it's a lumber rack. But you know what? It's a great lumber rack because it's covered and it looks so darn pretty because it's covered. Here, I'll show you how it opens. Bottom opens up like that. I've got a board trying to escape. Get that resettled back in there. It's not really made for these short ones, but I figured, you know, I might as well put them in there rather than having them clutter up the place. And then the one above opens up and then it latches up against the ceiling, which is awesome. So I've already got it all filled up with the stuff that was standing against the wall over here. And it's really cleaned up the place a lot, as you can see. Now, before I built that, I actually did this end of the workshop down here because this has been a problem area from the get-go, I guess you could say, from the time that I built the shop. All my filming basically happens ahead of here. The camera points down this way often, but I tend to figure that people ignore that because they should be looking at me when I'm standing in front of the table saw. They shouldn't be looking at the background. But anyway, I cleaned it up. I painted the compressor cabinet down there. Like I said, I painted the scrap wood cabinet just like I said I would. I also rearranged everything that was in the scrap wood cabinet and cleaned it out, took all the stuff out of there that I'm not going to use and reorganized everything and put a bunch of other stuff in there. So it's a lot more useful now. I know where everything is, the drawers down the bottom. I know what's in those. And, you know, if I need to go look for something, I'll be able to look in there to find them. That's the only way to have drawers, if they have a specific use and, you know, specific items in each one. Otherwise, they're just a total nuisance. I also moved the downdraft table into this nook, or this alcove, like I talked about in that video, and it's much better. I mean, you know, it doesn't seem like it's taking up any room in the shop now. This whole area here seems huge without the stuff that was here before. It's not that there's any more room here, it just feels larger. So the lumber rack here, the sheet storage, I should say, full sheets here. I had that divider in here before. I added another one. This is more of the particle board that was left over from building that. So that makes up this side. I added a shelf, a single shelf in here for pieces inside here. I've got taller pieces on the bottom. This is where all the offcuts pieces of plywood that really, you know, have been a pain here in my shop. I didn't have any place to put them. They wouldn't fit in the scrap wood cabinet. Now I've made that, and that works really well. Also, like I talked about before, was I took that padded top off the downdraft table. I just put a piece of particle board on the top of it for now, and I moved the scroll saw over here. I also have the belt sander platform still in place. Like I said, I'm going to build a new belt sander, and that's going to be over here. What's here right now is my belt grinder, and that's going out to my shed, which I'm going to convert to shop space, I guess you could say. And so that'll be there. Also rebuilding this, and that'll be there. I guess you could say the topic of this video is what I want to put in this space above this right here. I originally talked about building a cabinet, but I really need to have something specific in mind before I build another cabinet. And I really can't think of anything that I would store up here. A good candidate would be paints and so on, but I don't really keep a lot of that out here. I'm thinking a better place to keep that in the long run, you know, when it's all done, is out in the shed. When I convert it to workspace, I'll be able to build a cabinet out there that's dedicated to that kind of stuff, like finishes and so on and so forth. So instead of a cabinet up there, what I want to build is a new air cleaner. I built one 3 years ago, I think it was, and it was in here and it was working for about a year, and then I changed things up. I moved the chop saw from this wall over to this wall. I built this new miter saw station. Everything got changed around, so that got taken out and it didn't get reinstalled. Not to mention that it would work for most of the cutting operations that I do in here, but it really couldn't keep up with a heavy load from cutting a lot of material at the same time. And that was like a problem I ran into a couple times. Basically, you know, the shop would fill up with dust because there's no way that the fan could keep up with it. So I want to build a new one, and that's what's going to go up there, except I want to do it a little bit differently. I want to use this motor and impeller that I made, once again, probably 3 years ago. I have to check. But the beauty of this is that it's already made, and I know it already works, and I know it has enough airflow to clean the air in this shop aggressively enough that it'd be worth putting the time into. And that's part of it right there. I don't want to spend time building something for this new iteration, I guess you could say, of my shop that is temporary. I want something that's going to be permanent. So I'm going to use this motor. I got to do some changes with it though. And I'm going to build something like it's called a plenum actually. And it's just a box with the filters on the front, and that'll go up in that space up there. And then this motor or blower unit, I guess you could say, will be separate and stuck in behind it, and it'll be hung from springs to reduce the noise from vibration, and it will be connected to the plenum with some sort of flexible connection. I have to give that some thought. I've been thinking about it actually. To try to demonstrate the thing about vibrations a little bit, I'm gonna temporarily hook this up so I can plug it in. I've got an old cord here, and I'm just gonna twist the wires on and then put on a wire nut to hold it and keep myself from getting electrocuted. And that's the source of most noise from machines. It's the mechanical vibrations from the motor. Like there's going to be some fan noise, obviously, because this thing is spinning very fast, 3,500 RPMs, and it's pumping out a lot of air. But you can cut the noise in half by isolating the vibrations. I'm going to put it on the table saw here. Maybe it won't be as effective as see, if I was to attach this right to the back of the plenum, that whole thing would be vibrating like a big speaker up there, and it'd be even louder, but this will probably give you an idea anyway. No, it's making a liar out of me. This thing is not vibrating at all. So, what should I do? Okay, I'm gonna take this. The table saw obviously didn't work well. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take this and put it up against the wall. Now, the wall might work better. So you can imagine, okay, if I solidly attach this to the plenum, every time I turned it on, those vibrations that you might have been able to hear, I don't know yet, might have been able to hear, would be going into that big piece of plywood, because the back of it would have to be a solid piece of plywood, basically with a hole in it for the air to come through. And it'd be big enough for two 16 by 24 filters. So that would be a big thing that would be vibrating back and forth and really increase the amount of noise that's in here when it's going. And I got this thing about fans. I don't know if anybody else is like this, but when I turn on a fan to, clean out, like to do, like a good example would be the exhaust fan in the kitchen over this range. Turn that on. It almost makes me feel like I should be working faster so that I can hurry up and turn that off. So the louder this thing is, the more that will be, making me think that way, or at least that's the theory anyway. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep this thing intact as it is, except I'm going to open this back here, and I'm going to put a piece of aluminum inside here to curve the air out. This is the output right here, and I don't want it to come this way. I want it to go inside a bigger box that's going to enclose the motor as well. So the air comes in through the impeller here, it blows out through here, it circulates inside this box, and then it exhausts down through the bottom. So it also cools the motor as well and keeps that clean. And it being a large box that, is self-contained, I can put bolts on there to hang it from trampoline springs that I have in here somewhere, because I brought them in. Where are they? I got them. They're right here. So basically a frame up on the wall, like a 2x4 support thing, and these will, the thing will hang from this. These are pretty stiff. They might be too stiff, actually. I might end up using bungee cords instead, but whatever it takes for me to mechanically isolate this from, first of all, the wall behind it so that doesn't vibrate, and the plenum where the filters go. I think it's going to be worth it in the long run, because it'll reduce the amount of noise that I have to deal with whenever I turn this on. Now, I've always been one to say, what's the big deal about the noise when you are probably going to be running the table saw while your thing is running? So it's not really, going to be quiet in here or anything like that. It's just, if I want to turn this thing on to generally clean the shop after I'm doing something, or if I'm doing something that's a quieter activity, like sanding or something like that, then I don't want a jet engine roaring up there in the end of the shop, making it, seem like, a 747's landing in here. That's the idea there. I just want to make it as, what I'm saying is I want to put the effort into it without going overboard, that is. I want to put the effort into it to make it as quiet as I possibly can using this thing right here. And I'm using this because, like I said, it's already built.